All right. So, good morning. Good morning, Doc Clara and classmates. So, my topic for today is plan evaluation, and I think this is as much important as the previous topics because plan evaluation is the end or the official um, ending activity of any educational plan, and evaluation provides us to transition from the next plan or from this plan or the current plan to the next. So this is uh, important in educational planning. We are uh, our outline and agenda for today is to define evaluation, determine the types of evaluation, the three general types: plan, project, and program. Then the principles of plan evaluation for us to be guided during our uh, evaluation of our plans and programs. Steps in crafting evaluation plan, the logic model of evaluation. All right, so let me start this uh, report through this quotation by Friedrich Nietzsche, wherein he stated that evaluation is creation. Hear it, you creators. Evaluating is itself the most valuable treasure of all that we value. It's only through evaluation that value exists, and without evaluation, the knot of existence would be hollow. Hear it, you creators. And I think this is also true with educational planning and in any plans in general, because evaluation provide us with information, either quantitative or qualitative data that would allow us to either reinvent the plan for the next years or for the future endeavors. It also provides us information that we can use uh, to improve our plans, or it could provide us basis for the next plans that we're going to implement in the future. So I think evaluation is really a creation process. So effectiveness can be enhanced by the formal use of evaluation procedures. At its core, evaluation is about knowledge and information. It's a tool to help increase understanding of something, and it's how data are used, interpreted, and applied. And I think as educators, really know the value of assessing and measuring something. So in this case, uh, the 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 evaluation of the knowledge and information helps us to further determine whether our goals or our target goals in the particular plan was accomplished, or the degree of how much we have accomplished in the particular goals that we have, or how effective is our plans or our programs to that particular target audience, and of course the target uh, goals and competencies. All right, so I think evaluation really is a important part of educational planning. So how do we define evaluation? According to the Oxford Dictionary, the evaluation is the making of a judgment about the amount, number, or value of something. So in case of educational planning, the amount of something could be how much of the target goals of our plans is achieved. Number could also be like answering the question, how much of this goal did we accomplish? Just 25%? Is it 50% or 100%? All right, and or value of something, meaning how effective it is, how efficient is the plan, how impactful it is, what are its effects to the recipient or to the participants of the plan and programs. In context, it is the assessment of each part of the educational plan. So most of our organization, I think, the common practice is evaluation is only done after the implementation of a plan. But in the context of educational planning, evaluation can be done during the planning itself, during the implementation, or after, before the implementation, during the implementation, and then after the implementation. So those are actually 4 ways that we can evaluate our educational plans. So aiming to measure accomplishment of educational strategies aimed by a plan, program, or project is the definition of educational evaluation or plan evaluation, according to the Knowledge Center, as posted March 14, 2020. Furthermore, a definition of evaluation by author and researcher Michael Keane Patton is it's the systematic collection of information about the activities, characteristics, and outcomes of program used by specific people to reduce uncertainties, improve effectiveness, and make decisions with regard to what those programs are doing and affecting. So let's dissect. It says here that evaluation is systematic collection of information. When we say systematic, it should have a structure or procedure, a step-by-step procedure. And it is only common to organizations that the most detailed plan is for the implementation of a plan or of a program or a project. All right. But we should note also that when we evaluate, the evaluation implementation should also have a plan. Okay. And we should also provide a detailed step-by-step procedure on how are we going to evaluate these plans, or how are we going to implement the evaluation itself. All right. So why do we do this? Because it reduces uncertainties. It reduces risk, that risks such as there would be no collected data or evaluation, or there might be few evaluation. Uncertainties such as what if the evaluation plan fails? We're not able to evaluate the program itself. So we do the planning of the evaluation because we want to reduce these particular scenarios. And of course, when we reduce the risks, we improve, of course, effectiveness. And when we have effective evaluation, we can use those data from that evaluation to make decisions, strategies of how those programs are doing, or how our plans are affecting our target audience, or are we going to still continue the program? Are we going to revise it, or are we going to stop it altogether? All right, so that's evaluation. It's summarized as what happened, what difference it made, and why. So evaluation, I think it is important for us to remember this. The general summary of evaluation that we should memorize in mind is it answers the questions: what happened, what difference it made, and why. So what are the different types of evaluation? So there are 3 types. We're going to discuss one by one. So one, Number one is plan evaluation. Plan evaluation is defined as a systematic collection, analysis, interpretation, and presentation of regarding the plan itself, including the planning process. So I think this is not commonly implemented, or it's not commonly used among organizations. I think in the Philippine context, that the actual plan is evaluated. Diba po, we are creating a plan for a particular program. What are the preparations? How are we going to implement the plan? How are we going to evaluate the plan? But it is somehow that this evaluation is neglected, that we are actually evaluating if the plan is ready or not. All right, is the plan complete or not? Is the plan will be effective or not? Is the actual plan itself sufficient enough, adequate enough, or not? Because if we're going to answer those questions, it will provide us the idea if we are ready to implement or start the actual program itself or the actual plan itself. So it utilizes, this type of plan utilizes the formative evaluations that are defined as prospective, analyzing the strength, weaknesses for the improvement during the process. So a plan evaluation allows us to determine whether our actual plan itself eclipses its strength and the weaknesses are manageable. Plan evaluation also provides us the overview of what risk are we going to be encountering during the preparation, implementation, and evaluation part of the program or of the plan itself. All right, that's why it is, I think, important that before we take or we take into action and implement our plans, it should be evaluated first. All right, so we can determine whether it's good enough to go or whether we still need to improve it. There are things that yet to be included in the plan. It's not yet holistic. Does it actually targets our does the plan actually targets our goals? Does the procedures are appropriate with our aims or of the goals of the plan itself before we proceed? So it's important that we do plan evaluation. The second type is project evaluation. Project evaluation is a strategy used to determine the success and impact of projects, programs, or policies. It requires the evaluator to gather information to analyze the process and outcome of a certain project. So this type of evaluation uses summative evaluation, which are retrospective and involve evidence and document results. Unlike plan evaluation, which is formative because it is plan evaluation somehow a diagnostics of our plans, project evaluation is a post-test or a post-evaluation. It is used to determine whether the actual implementation or the actual project itself was able to target the set goals or the set aims of the plan itself. Are we able to does the project able to really increase such, for example, student motivation, student engagement? Does the project actually affects student academic performance? All right, so that's project evaluation. Just giving you context of how is it in real context. So we also have a bigger evaluation, which is called program evaluation. So project is the first one. Project evaluation is a more smaller evaluation because only get to assess projects, and projects is under programs. So programs is a collection of different projects that aims to target a more holistic goals. For example, a project could have a project one could have 3 different target goals, while project 2 targets the other 3 goals. When we combine them together, it comprises a single program. Example, we may implement a project student engagement, and then we also have project student motivation. All right, so those 2 projects aims to fulfill the target goals of the program student learning program student increased academic performance. All right, so I hope you are seeing the difference between program and project. So therefore, program evaluation is a systematic collection, analysis, interpretation of, and presentation of findings to facilitate stakeholder decision making regarding the efficacy and efficiency of programs, including but not limited to the needs of the organization, the impact of the program on the outcomes itself, the cost effectiveness, and the overall utility of a program. So program evaluations provide us with information and findings whether the program is still needed by the organization or not. It also provides us the effect and impact of the program to our target stakeholders. Well, most commonly student, teachers, parents. All right, then is the program efficient and effective in regards with its costs and its implementation costs and the overall usage and function of the program. So it also uses summative evaluations as well. All right, so at checkpoint 1, just to see whether we are retaining our discussion so far, or we are understanding and learning so far. I have your 3 scenarios, and you're going to determine whether what type of planning evaluation it is. Is it a plan evaluation, a project evaluation, or a program evaluation? So you could just siguro po type your answers in the chat box, so we can see if we are getting the hang out of it or of our discussion. All right, so number 1, the CEO wants to evaluate the impact of the Student Success Program intervention in the College of Education board rating. Second, the Chief Operating Officer wants to implement an evaluation of plan before the conduct of the project Student Success Program. And third, the Dean of the College of Education wants to evaluate the effectiveness of the policies of the 5 major projects of the Student Success Program. Which among the 3? Which plan evaluation? So 5 minutes, I think. You could type your answers na lang po in the chat box. So which is plan evaluation, which is project evaluation, which is program evaluation. Alright po, so let's see kung tama po tayo ng sagot. So number one, the CEO wants to evaluate the impact of the Student Success Program intervention in the College of Education board rating. So the answer is, it's a program evaluation because the evaluation itself wants to evaluate a program which is called Student Success Program. Second, the CEO wants to implement an evaluation of plan before the conduct of the projects of the Student Success Program. The answer is plan evaluation because it is actually the plan itself that wants to be assessed by the COO. Third, the Dean of the College of Education wants to evaluate the effectiveness of the policy of the 5 major projects of the Student Success Program. Therefore, the answer is project evaluation. All right, so I think we have learned the 3 types of plan evaluation. So let's move on with our report for today. So the principles of plan evaluation. Number 1, it must have a clear stated target of evaluation. And in the educational context, our target of evaluation is the goals of the plan itself, or the objectives of the plan itself, which is supposed to be and assumed to be anchored in the vision and mission of the institution. So a plan evaluation should target the objectives set during the planning stage. All right. Otherwise, the evaluation will not provide us information whether we have accomplished our goals, how much we have accomplished, is the effect of the program our targeted impact, and the likes. All right. So any evaluation, just like with our assessment of learning, should target this set or the preset goals, objectives, or aims of the plan or of the program itself. Second, it should have a variety of evaluation techniques. Why is this necessary? So that our evaluation would be comprehensive. It's like, you can think of it's like triangulating the evaluation of a research. It's the same with educational plan evaluation. If we have different ways of evaluating our plans and our programs, it provides us different views of how our plans were able to target the set goals and objectives, how it affected our target audience. All right, what's its impact and its effect? So evaluation techniques could include, like you have assessment of the project itself by the participants, observation notes, interviews to the participants. We could also have our implementors to evaluate the plan as well and the implementation as well, so that we have a triangulation of our data to make it more comprehensive. All right, third, the technique of evaluation must be appropriate for the characteristic or performance to be measured. All right, it is common in the assessment of learning that appropriateness of methods impacts what type of data are we going to be collecting. Okay, so that's why we have to make sure that our techniques is appropriate and correct for the particular type of, or for the set objectives or goals of our plan. Di ba po? An example for this would be like our programs, our program itself aims to increase student engagement. So the appropriate evaluation technique would be like a survey of whether their engagement has increased during or after the intervention program, right? You cannot measure engagement if your techniques would be like interviewing them, if they become more motivated in learning, or I mean, that's close enough. So I think you get the point that the actual technique should be appropriate with the objectives and the goals of the plan itself. Fourth, evaluation is a means to an end, but not an end itself, because evaluation allows us to cycle and transfer our current plan, to the next plans, diba? It could be a basis of a new plan, or it could be a basis to revise the plan itself, then re-implement, or it's a basis of whether we should stop this program and replace it with a new one. All right, so that's why it's a means to an end, but not an end in itself. So what are the 6 common steps in plan evaluation? So 1, of course, create an evaluation plan. How are you going to implement the evaluation? Who are your target evaluators? What are your methods and techniques? So we should create an evaluation plan. Second, identify the source of evaluation and get organized. Implement the evaluation, analyze the data, develop a report for your team, and discuss the next steps. So we're going to do and discuss one by one. So let's go and discuss number 1, creating evaluation plan. So step number 1. Formulating an evaluation plan is the first step in plan evaluation. Why? We have 6 common steps in evaluation plan. 1 is to determine the framework for the evaluation. What model are you going to use? Are you going to use PDCA cycle, Plan, Do, Check, Act framework during the evaluation? That means if you're going to use that, you're going to evaluate the plan. Do is implementation. You're going to evaluate as well the evaluation, implementation, and the next step. All right, so we have to determine what framework are we going to use during the evaluation. In terms of the evaluation of the program itself, there are a lot of frameworks we could use. If if the program aims to determine student multiple intelligences, I think Howard Gardner of multiple intelligences framework can be used for evaluation. We have a lot of literatures that we could use, or the organization or your organization can create and craft a framework of itself to better suit the goals of your plans and programs. Identify the evaluators. Is it going to be the participant only, or the evaluators include also the implementors, the immediate individuals that might be impacted by the change that happened among the participants, such for example, if it's student, we could also add parents, what are their observation or the changes that they have observed in their student after the program has been implemented. All right, so we have to identify the appropriate evaluators to evaluate the plan itself. Pick or develop the appropriate tools of evaluation. Are you going to use a pencil paper survey, or are you going to use digitized forms? Are you going to use interviews? Are you going to use observational notes? Are you going to use a focus group discussion? So we have to determine the appropriate tool of evaluation. Third, design the procedures for collecting information. The actual steps in collecting the information is in the evaluation plan. Are we going to implement the evaluation before, during, and after, or are we just going to do the pre and post test, post evaluation, or are we going to do evaluation only? And within those timing of evaluation, there are also steps that we have to take into account, such as who are we going to give the evaluation first? Participants lang ba? Or sabay-sabay na sila mag-evaluate? Or are we going to collect it right after they have finished, or are we going to give our participant days to evaluate the plan, or are we going to have time interval post evaluation, such as we have evaluated the program after the implementation of the plan itself, then after 2 weeks we are going to evaluate again our participants to determine the how much time does the effects last, or the impact last, diba? Is it for short term only or long term only? So that's procedures for collecting information. Then determine the procedure in analyzing the collected data. So it has something to do with our data analysis procedures. Are we going to use inferential statistics? Are we going to just use descriptive analysis? Are we going to, what type of qualitative analysis are we going to use? Is it thematic or what have you? All right, so we have, and of course it should be appropriate with the type of data that we have collected, and of course the procedure of how we have collected it. Are we going to use ANOVA if it's pre-test and post-test? Can we use correlation during the time interval testing and evaluation? So we have to plan that, include that in the evaluation plan as well. And third, create risk management. Each of the parts of the evaluation plan should have or could have risk management. If your institution is an ISO, I think you are familiar with risk management. But it outlines what are the specific scenarios that we anticipate might happen or that we might encounter during the implementation of the evaluation itself. All right. I think the most common risk that we might encounter is the implementors or the organizer of the the program forgot to 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 have our participants evaluate the program itself. All right. So that's one risk. So during risk management, we have to identify the risk itself, such for example, such as that's forgetting to implement the evaluation. How are what type of risk management are we going to employ in that particular risk? Are we going to avoid it? Are we going to um, transfer it? Are we going to mitigate it? Diba? If we're going to avoid it, we might include in our risk prevention plan is a constant reminder for the implementers to provide evaluation, so we could avoid forgetting to evaluate the plan. If it's transfer, well, I think it could not be transferred. If it's mitigate, what type of mitigation can we do when the risk is about forgetting to evaluate the plan? We could use a digitized form to give the evaluation plan even we are to forget it, and just send it via email to the participants. All right, so that's the kind of risk management we're going to do in an evaluation plan. All right, so that's step number one only, creating an evaluation plan. All right, step two, identify the source of evaluation and get organized. Select all the people and communicate the process of evaluation. Are we going to create a group of evaluators? Are we going to create a group of organizers that would implement and disseminate the evaluation? So those are included in step number two. Delegate the task or make a detailed timetable to further prepare for the implementation, especially if the evaluation would be will be taking pre-implementation, during the implementation, post-implementation, and then time interval post-implementation. All right. So we have to delegate tasks to our team. Third step is implement the evaluation itself. Well, I think since we are very immersed in research, the implementation of the evaluation is an easy task for us, but just so we could remember it, we can evaluate or we can implement the evaluation in three major stages. Pre-evaluation. So for a pre-project evaluation, focus on developing the objectives, goals, and evaluating the viability of the project. We could also do this as a diagnostic for the participant itself, how much they know before the actual program. Ongoing evaluation, if you are conducting an ongoing evaluation, you may monitor details like schedule, budget, and the quality of work. All right, so during the implementation, is the implementation smooth? Is it efficient? Is it cost efficient? Is the schedule being adhered to as much as the implementers can? Is the quality of the implementation good, bad, very bad, or very good? All right. Post-evaluation measures the project success based on impact and outcome. Is it able to attain the objectives of the plan? Is the outcome shown by the participant is the outcome that we want or what that we target? All right, so that's it. Implement the evaluation. So we have a lot of collection methods and tools that we could use during the implementation stage of the evaluation. You could use survey and questionnaire, a Likert scale maybe, or you could also use objective type of tests if the test if the goals wanted to some sort of like get or measure a substantive aspect of the participants, you could also use interviews, focus group discussions to determine and also observe participants' connection with each other. Observational notes. During the implementation, you could observe what changed in the participants during the process. Expert evaluation. You could do like ask an expert to evaluate the participants, maybe during the implementation of the program or after the implementation. Analyze the data. So analyze the data for trends. Is there a pattern of characteristics within the group? Is it comparable from one group to another? Is there a difference? Is there an increase, or is there a decrease, or it's a status quo? So we are analyzing information from the evaluation to determine trends. Strengths and weaknesses of the actual plan itself. What can we improve? What are the good points of the implementation itself? We could also do analysis of the data in terms of strength and weaknesses with regards to the impact of the program to the participants. What has increased, what has decreased, what has remained the same. All right. Accomplishment of goals and objectives. The most common is whether the program after its implementation has accomplished and succeed in targeting the goals and objectives set during the planning stage. Evaluation design. We have to take into account that what type of evaluation design are we going to use? Post-test, is it going to be post-test only after the implementation of the program? Pre-test, pre-implementation and post-implementation? Are we going to do comparison groups? Follow-up testing? So 2 weeks is going to be 2 weeks after the post-evaluation or the implementation of the program, or then do we have a series of follow-up testings to determine if the impact of the program is lasting? All right. So I have here the hierarchy of designs. I was not able to provide po pala the citation, but I'll just give you the updated PowerPoint next time. So hierarchy of designs, if it's pre-test and post-test, can we improve on this? Yes, by collecting data from different locations. Yes, by collecting data from several groups over extended period of time. Is it yes, by adding comparison groups? Can we improve this by adding control groups? So it says here that as we go down in this design and going right, the strength of the design increases. All right, so therefore the most powerful design is pre-test and post-test with comparison group that has control group. All right, the least is, I think, post-test only, because there's nothing you can do with pre-test, because pre-test only can provide you how we're going to improve the plan itself or the implementation itself, or just describe the participant itself. So, but of course, as you go down, resources requirement increases as well, because you're adding groups, you're adding collection periods, and the likes. All right. So number 5, develop a report for your team. Usually, and I think you could observe this, that the result of the evaluation after it was analyzed is commonly neglected or does not being prioritized to be presented to the team. Usually it is only presented to the top management or the middle management only. But I think it is also necessary in principle that the implementors and the operation level would see the results of the evaluation. Because if we're going to do the same plan just with some revision, or we're going to continue the program, it is necessary that the implementors and the operation level determines the weakness of the implementation that they have done. And of course, they could also provide substantive suggestion in improving the plan itself, since they are the one who is directly implementing the plan. So I think it is necessary that the whole team, from the operation level, implementors, the participants as well, would be able to be included in the presentation of the result of the evaluation. All right, and I think it's their right to know as well. And last, step 6, discuss the next step. Often, organizations, upon finishing a program, it ends there. The evaluation, after it's presented, it ends there. It's not being utilized. But in a more valid planning, the evaluation of the other programs or the previous program should be included during the planning of the next programs, all right, or the next plans, so that you would be able to determine which among the objectives has already been accomplished, which is partially accomplished that we need to address, what weaknesses were encountered during the implementation of this particular program. This might happen again in the next plan. So it is important that we discuss the next steps. All right.